simple, ginagawang grabe. So we were able to, ngayon daw, bago na, down casing naman. Yung grabe, ginagawang simple. In this case, apektado yung kliyente, yung member ng PhilHealth. Kasi instead of the hospital giving him a higher benefit, sa takot niya na hindi na mabayaran at palagi kami nang slash, binibigay yung lower. So, again, we are asking every Filipino na experience ng ganyan to let us know so that we can file the necessary or call the attention of the facility.
PhilHealth advises patients to approach its outposts or desks at hospitals to check if their benefits have been assessed. Broadcaster Erwin Tulfo and all other incoming cabinet officials will officially buckle down to work in a month's time. But this early, Tulfo is saying he will step down from office if he fails to deliver on his promises within a certain period. Tulfo will be Social Welfare Secretary under the Marcos administration. Speaking to CNN Philippines, Tulfo gave himself a deadline of 6 months to 1 year to introduce reforms in the agency.
Please give me 6 months to 1 year to deliver. Pag hindi ako nakadeliver, hindi ko na ibigay o natupad yung mga sinabi ko na ayuda less than 24 hours after calamity, after sunog, then I will step down. Just have to remind me, Mr. Tulfo, May 31, 2022, sabi mo bababa ka pag hindi ka nakadeliver. So after 1 year, sa May 31, 2023, if I haven't delivered and kept my promise, then I will step down, I promise.
Among his proposed reforms, setting up a quick response team for the immediate distribution of aid during disasters and updating the master list of beneficiaries for the Social Immigration Program. Tulfo also promises to be a secretary on the ground, even if that would involve sleeping in evacuation centers. Erwin Tulfo is not the only Tulfo in government. His elder brother is Senator-elect Raffy Tulfo, whose wife Jocelyn represents ACT CIS party list in Congress, with son Ralph for Quezon City's 2nd District. Liloan, Cebu Mayor Cristina Frasco accepts President-elect Bongbong Marcos' offer to be the next tourism secretary. In a statement, Frasco says she is, quote, eager to support Marcos's vision to revitalize tourism so it may significantly propel the Philippines' post-pandemic economic growth, unquote. Frasco also cited her experience as a mayor in Cebu province, where tourism is a major economic driver. Frasco also thanked Vice President-elect Sara Duterte, whom she served as spokesperson, as well as her family and constituents for their support. Meanwhile, the Budget Department welcomes the choice of Bangko Sentral Assistant Governor Amena Pangandaman as incoming secretary. The agency says it is ready to work with her to ensure a smooth and orderly turnover of leadership. It believes, quote, reforms will be introduced and sustained to get the country through the transition period of post-pandemic recovery, growth, and sustainability, unquote. Well, let's take a look again at how the Marcos cabinet is shaping up. As of May 30, there are so far 17 appointees, including his running mate and now Vice President-elect Sara Duterte, who will take the helm of the Education Department. Also serving under the administration, some of his allies, including spokesperson Vic Rodriguez, who will be his executive secretary, and campaign manager Benjamin Abalos, who will head the Interior Department, as well as experts and former officials of past and current administrations. But we're still waiting for Marcos's picks for other agencies, including the Departments of Agriculture, Energy, Environment, Foreign Affairs, Health, Defense, Transportation, and Science and Technology. Incoming Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles says they will announce more nominations in the coming days. Senator Cynthia Villar supposedly offered to share the Senate presidency with her colleague Mig Zubiri. That claim coming from Senator Bato de la Rosa. Zubiri earlier said colleagues who want him to become the Senate president reject the idea of term sharing.
Okay naman si Senator Cynthia ng term sharing. In fact, nag-offer siya noon pa.
Meanwhile, Senator Amy Marcos says her brother, President-elect Bongbong Marcos, is unlikely to endorse anyone. Zubiri earlier said Marcos sought help from him and House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez to craft a legislative agenda.
Oh, it's most unlikely and quite improper. As you're well aware, there's a separation of the three branches of government. Hindi po tayo nanghihimasok sa executive. Ang executive hindi papakialaman ng judiciary and so on and so forth. Kasi hindi naman siya tama, di ba?
But Senator Marcos says she is not privy to that meeting. Coming up on Newsnight, another series of incidents in the West Philippine Sea prompts Manila to take new diplomatic actions against Beijing. And a former member of One Direction adds to the long list of international acts staging a concert in Manila. Details right here on CNN Philippines.
Land Bank has always believed that in this country,
SMC
we have
San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Gama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
RPN DXKT 1071 sa dial sa inyong mga radyo.
You're watching Newsnight. The government is taking diplomatic action yet again after a series of maneuverings by a Chinese Coast Guard vessel in the West Philippine Sea. Tristan Hidalgo reports a senior Chinese official was summoned to protest the incident.
The Foreign Affairs Department assures the public that it is taking appropriate actions for violations of Philippine maritime rights in the West Philippine Sea. The statement comes after Washington-based Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative recorded 3 incidents in the recent months involving the alleged intimidation or interference of Chinese Coast Guard ships with Philippine and Taiwanese research vessels in our territory. The AMTI said on March 23 a Chinese Coast Guard ship shadowed a Taiwan research vessel Legend in Babuyan Islands while the vessel was conducting hydrographic surveys. The activity was in partnership with researchers from the University of the Philippines. On April 6, both Taiwan and the Philippines sent their Coast Guard vessels to protect Legend. The game of cat and mouse ended on April 9. In a statement, the DFA said that it has summoned a senior Chinese official from the embassy on April 13th to protest the incident. In the same report, a Chinese vessel followed 2 survey ships commissioned by local oil company PXP Energy in Reed Bank. The DFA says it is now reviewing the Reed Bank incident for possible diplomatic actions. Few weeks after the Reed Bank encounter, the Chinese Coast Guard and 2 militia ships interfered with Philippine research activity by MVDA-B4 at Ayungin Shoal. The DFA says it has also lodged diplomatic protests over the encounter. Despite the incident, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources or BFAR remains unfazed and vows to continue research activities in the area.
Maliban dun sa research and study, ay nandun siya para makita ng ating mga mangingisda na sila ay naaalagaan.
Based on the actions of the Chinese vessel and what they were communicating to our vessels, they were essentially attempting to enforce Chinese law. They are clearly preventing us from conducting oil exploration.
An expert says the Chinese activities in disputed areas will not stop anytime soon. The challenge now is for the incoming administration to be more assertive when it comes to the West Philippine Sea.
For the next administration, it is clear that this is not acceptable. It should not be seen as the administration that finally gives them up. And it must therefore face China, of course, still in a peaceful manner, but insist on its legal rights and entitlements under international law.
In a previous interview, President-elect Bongbong Marcos said that the Philippines should have a firm voice in upholding the arbitral ruling. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
The Chinese embassy has yet to comment on the matter. Developments in an explosion in a bus terminal in Isabela City, Basilan, Monday night. Authorities looking at extortion as the possible motive behind the blast that injured 2 people. Armed Forces Western Mindanao Command spokesperson Major Andrew Linao says they have yet to identify the group behind the bombing. Meanwhile, authorities clarified that a separate explosion at a fast food chain, also in Isabela City, was caused by faulty electrical wiring. Authorities expanding the scope of the search and rescue for the 7 fishermen still missing in Palawan. On Saturday, a fishing vessel collided with cargo ship MV Happy Hero off the island of Macaranao. 13 of 20 fishermen were rescued. Coast Guard says another ship has been sent to help in the rescue efforts. He adds Coast Guard will not shift to retrieval operations just yet.
So far, in-expand na rin yung search area. Umabot na ito sa 500 square nautical miles at magpapatuloy tayo at hindi pa natin siya i-terminate at hopefully magkaroon pa ito ng magandang resulta. Ang pang-challenge lang talaga kung paano hahanapin tsaka yung direction kung saan sila banda natangay kasi mayroon ding possibility based dun sa accounts ng mga survivors na baka kasamang lumubog ng fishing boat.
The fishing vessel's company is now in talks with representatives of the MV Happy Hero. In other news, Senate Electoral Reforms Chairperson Amy Marcos wants sanctions against service providers in case vote counting machines malfunction in the next automated polls in 2025. In a committee hearing, officials of the Commission on Elections said more than 1,000 VCMs and 600 SD cards had to be replaced last May 9. All these election materials were from Smartmatic. Marcos is also looking at possible sanctions against area poll workers after defective vote counting machines forced voters to leave their filled-in ballots with members of the Electoral Board.
Should we categorize as election offenses failing to require the voter to execute a waiver, failure to properly brief the voter, coercing or forcing the voter in some way to simply leave his filled-in ballot?
That can be included as one of the election offenses.
Only 4 out of 260 national candidates have submitted their campaign spending reports before the COMELEC so far. COMELEC says only senatorial candidate Guillermo Eleazar and 3 party lists have turned in their Statement of Contributions and Expenditures, or SOSE. The SOSE is due on June 8, 30 days after Election Day. Through the spending report, COMELEC can monitor campaign overspending and whether candidates receive funds from foreigners or prohibited industries such as public utilities and banks. Winning bets who are unable to file their sources cannot assume office, while overspending candidates will be disqualified. World updates now. Last week's deadly school shooting is fueling debates on gun control in the United States. U.S. President Joe Biden admits he can only do so much. But as CNN correspondent MJ Lee tells us, Biden is hopeful lawmakers will finally do something to combat gun violence.
We can never repay the sacrifice, but we will never stop trying.
President Biden marking Memorial Day with a visit to Arlington National Cemetery, honoring the American men and women killed while serving in the U.S. military.
Freedom is worth the sacrifice. Democracy is not perfect, but it's worth fighting for. If necessary, worth dying for.
The solemn commemoration coming as the country continues to grieve the horrific mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, that left 19 children and 2 adults dead. Those killings reigniting the fraught national debate on gun control and putting new pressure on the president and lawmakers in Washington alike to take meaningful action.
I know that it makes no sense to be able to purchase something that can fire up to 300 rounds. The Second Amendment was never absolute.
The president signaling a hint of optimism about some of his GOP colleagues in Congress.
I think things have gotten so bad that everybody's getting more rational about it. At least that's my hope and prayer. I consider McConnell a rational Republican, and he's cornered as well. I think there's a recognition on your part that we can't continue like this.
But Biden also indicating that his own hands are largely tied when it comes to major actions pushed by gun reform advocates.
I can't outlaw a weapon. I can't, change the background check. I can't do that.
Over the weekend, the president and the first lady traveling to Uvalde to console a traumatized and broken community. As he left church, Biden confronted with anguished onlookers. Back in Washington, some Democratic lawmakers also sounding cautiously optimistic.
There are more Republicans interested in talking about finding a path forward this time than I have ever seen since Sandy Hook. We're talking about red flag laws. We're talking about strengthening and expanding the background check system.
While many Republicans appear eager to focus on strengthening school security systems.
The things that would have the most immediate and succinct effect and tangible effect on these things, and that's actual security at a school.
The European Union has agreed on a partial ban on Russian oil imports. The new package of sanctions will cover upwards of 2/3 of oil imports from Russia. This cuts a, quote, huge source of financing for Moscow's war machine. The EU says it will ban 3 more Russian state-owned broadcasters and penalize individuals responsible for war crimes in Ukraine. The package will also remove Russia's largest bank from the global payment system, SWIFT. Back here at home, transport groups make an appeal to commuters as costly fuel forces jeepney drivers to skip their trips. Groups clarify there were no transport strikes. They admit, though, a number of drivers ended up canceling trips because of expensive diesel. Just today, per liter diesel prices are up by 1 peso and 20 centavos.
Humihingi din po kami ng pangunawa sa ating mga mahal na mananakay. Kayo po yung unang-unang binibigyan namin ng serbisyo publiko. Pangalawa na lamang po yung aming pagkakakitaan. Pero po kung wala rin ho kaming maiuwi sa aming pamilya o wala rin ho kaming maikargang diesel, papaano nga ho kami makakapagserbisyo sa inyo ng tama at maayos?
Transport groups continue to hope for excise tax cuts and a minimum fare hike. As they call for faster fuel subsidy distribution, they're also arranging a dialogue with President-elect Bongbong Marcos. Straight ahead on Newsnight, a world-famous landmark pays tribute to Britain's Queen Elizabeth II. Plus, pole vault sensation EJ Obiena leaps for the top prize once again, this time in Italy. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines.
SMC San Miguel Corporation. Bisag unsang industriya ang sudlan niini, tinguha sa SMC ang pag-uswag o paglambo sa mga Pilipino. Karon, gikan sa SMC, aniya na ang SMC Davao Cement. SMC Davao Cement. Kama sa Davao, para sa Mindanao. SMC Davao Cement. Ato ni Bay.
RPN DXKT 1071 sa dial sa inyong mga radyo.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. A world-famous landmark pays tribute to Britain's Queen Elizabeth II in honor of her Platinum Jubilee, or her 70th year on the throne. Projected onto the iconic Stonehenge are photographs of the Queen, each from a different decade during her reign. The England Monument was built around 2500 BC, but questions on its purpose remain unanswered. Well, speaking of landmarks, pole vault sensation EJ Obiena leaps for the top prize once again, this time in front of the Basilica of Santa Maria de Colemaggio in L'Aquila, Italy. Obiena bagged gold by clearing 5.85 meters, exceeding his 5.46-meter pole vault performance in the Southeast Asian Games. In football, Stephen Schrock was disappointed by his exclusion from the Philippine Azkals lineup in the final round of the 2023 AFC Asian Cup qualifiers. Schrock told CNN Philippine Sports Desk he thinks head coach Thomas Dooley still holds a grudge against him because of his 2014 Facebook post where he said he would not play in a team with Dooley as coach.
I reached out to him asking for a sit-down to clear this up like adults, and yeah, he refused. I think we have a common goal, which is bigger than a personal pride, bigger than a personal ego, and unfortunately, I got denied this opportunity. I make myself available if ever there is a need and ever there is a demand. I'm always here for the country. I'm always trying to serve.
In an interview with CNN Philippines yesterday, Dooley said the decision was based on Schrock's performance and not because of personal issues. Pageant fans, get ready. Only 5 days to go until someone takes the coveted Miss World Philippines 2022 crown. 36 beauties will compete at the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay. 3 other major titles are at stake: Miss Supranational Philippines, Miss Eco Philippines, and Reina Hispano-Americana Filipinas. Watch it as it happens live on Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on CNN Philippines. Performing on the Manila concert stage soon is British singer Louis Tomlinson. The former One Direction member is holding his first solo live show in the country on July 16th at the New Frontier Theatre in Quezon City. Tickets selling begins on June 5. The excitement doesn't stop there, though, with more international artists set to rock out Filipino audiences from 2022 to 2023. Here are some of those much-awaited concerts, including All Time Low on August 15th, Justin Bieber on October 29th, and Westlife on February 20th next year. More music news, including a U.S. tour that's bound to bring back a Disney song you probably just managed to get out of your head. Here's CNN's David Daniel with tonight's Hollywood Minute.
We don't talk about you, no.
Prepare for Encanto, the sing-along film concert. The event features the movie and a live on-stage band leading the audience in all the popular songs from the soundtrack. The 32-city tour begins July 18th in Ridgefield, Washington. Tickets and more info at disneyconcerts.com/Encanto.
We're invisible. We're pissed off. We're bored. So maybe that should be our image.
With the right guidance, you could change the world.
And they did. Pistol is a 6-episode limited series about the Sex Pistols, the English punk rock band that helped spark the UK's punk movement. Pistol premieres today on Hulu. Kate Bush fans, old and new, are running up that hill. The English singer-songwriter's 1985 single is #1 on the iTunes chart after it played a significant role in the season 4 premiere episode of Netflix's Stranger Things. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. and on Politics as usual at 8:30. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.